More. Start your. Welcome to Chasing Prophecy Radio, where we discuss the unidentified, the unexplainable, paranormal, conspiracies, and much more. Starring your host and co-host, Jenny Nicasio, Sean Kelly, and Jason Sledgehammer Ian Petro. Brought to you by UPRN Network. Now for your host, Jenny Nicasio.
Good evening and welcome to Chasing Prophecy on FM 105.3 New Orleans, where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope and normal. Remember to like us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. Happy Tuesday, everyone.
Happy Tuesday.
Great. How you feel tonight?
Stuffy. I'm very stuffy.
Stuffy? Okay, well, that's
Yes.
not good. Well, we have a special guest here with us tonight, Betty Eadie. She was supposed to be on last week, and unfortunately, she had a death in the family, and we welcome her back tonight. So I'm glad we can have her this evening. And Betty, I just want to let you know that every day is a challenge here, and it seems like we're having another challenge every day of the week. So a lot of us feel a little stressed and feeling that something isn't right in the universe, and maybe it's some kind of spiritual awareness that we are going into. And I know myself, I feel a little connected to the spiritual realm as Sean and Jason are as paranormal investigators. And I know myself, my journey started, in the spiritual world years ago. But something happened to me, and I am going to discuss with you if it could be similar. I never had the experiences you had. But you had the opportunity to see Jesus Christ, our Savior, in a very unusual experience. And we're going to talk about that. And I just want to make sure I tell you now if ours are the same. So I have a picture, but we're going to wait until after you discuss what you've seen. And then we're going to discuss and see if it's similar to what I saw years ago. But I know your experiences started years ago when you were just a child, and I just want to make sure I get this right. So before I'm going to introduce you the right way, I was going to keep you in the back, and this is new to us, having control over StreamYards to broadcast. Like I said, some people have been lucky enough to see Christ before they actually die, and you had an experience years ago. Betty Eadie is our guest tonight. She's a prominent American author of several books on near-death experiences. Her best-known book was #1, and I think it's still pretty good on the bestsellers list, Embraced by the Light. She's in her book, she describes her near-death experiences, and it was followed by another book that she wrote called The Awakening Heart, which was also a bestseller. So, Betty, welcome to Chasing Prophecy.
Welcome, Betty.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Welcome, Betty.
Thank
We're
you
so
very much. It's a pleasure being here with you.
Yeah, and it's a pleasure having you. I'm so glad you can make it tonight. Now, Betty, I read your book, and I was, like I said, I was inspired, and it brought back some things that happened to me in my past. I didn't have a near-death experience, but it will open my eyes. And I think this is exactly what we need right now is your book and what you experienced to try to give us some kind of clarity and some kind of hope in these days that we are facing with all the things going on in the news. And I'm not going to mention it because I think this is a great escape for us. So I don't want to really mention it too much today, but you have a great story. So why don't you just go ahead and start from the beginning when you had your experiences as a child in a boarding school. I think that would be a great place to start.
Okay. I'm old enough to where I've had experience living on Indian or Native American reservations. My mother was Lakota Sioux, my father Irish. They were not, back in those days, they were not permitted to be together. He was white, she was Indian. they were taking the children, the Indian children, out of the homes and putting them in boarding schools. You might have heard a lot of the hoopla of in current times, where they are finding cemeteries actually on the property of these schools, and digging up the children who are buried there. And thank goodness for actually finding relatives that the children belong to. I was only 4 years old when I was taken from my parents and placed in a boarding school. And I remember looking out the window from the girls' dormitory, which looked out across the field and out to where the cemetery actually was located. And I remember hearing stories about um, you have to really behave yourself or you're going to end up over there in that cemetery. It was a frightening experience for a 4 year old because I didn't quite understand everything yet. Went to school there and then on to another boarding school from that point. But while I was in, the reason I left that school in the winter, we had one army blanket and a mattress. We slept on the mattress. We covered with the army blanket, and I caught whooping cough and double pneumonia. I was rushed to the hospital where I didn't think that I had died at that point because I didn't know what death was. I was only 4. But what I remember vividly and still remember when I stop and think about it is laying in this huge bed. Well, to me, 4 years old, and I'm a small woman, small child, laying in this bed but looking down from above and seeing this great big white bed. The sheets were white, I guess. The all the blanket, everything was white, including the bed, the metal bed. And here was this little black spot or brown spot in the middle. And as I came down closer to look at it, it was me. It was my body laying there. I recognized that it was me. I knew it was me. I felt it was me. And then there was this bright light that entered the room, and this beautiful man. He was sparkling. His body was light, that was full of energy, and it kind of flowed in and out from him. And he swooped me up into his arms, and he held me really close. And I felt this incredible love and safety that I felt I wasn't feeling there at the school. So I was mesmerized. And he had this beard that came down, and it was filled with sparkling energy and light. And I reached up and I was playing with it. And and then the next thing I knew, I was back in my bed. Doctor and nurse had come in, and I heard the doctor say to the nurse, "We've lost her." And I guess that's before I came back into my body, because I'm looking down at them and I'm thinking, I'm not lost. I'm right here. What does it mean I'm lost? And so anyway, I came back. So that was I guess my very it's an experience I had that actually I would think back on, because it saved me from a lot of grief as I was in other boarding schools, and they were Indian. They called themselves Indian training schools, and basically what they did when I first entered in is they cut our hair off, and they deliced us. They sprayed us with DDT or whatever that is that they um,
Oh my God.
uh, uh, yeah, would spray you with. Uh-huh. And and we couldn't speak our language, which was, of course, Native American Lakota Sioux, or we would get punished. And I saw many of the children were punished. I wasn't at the age of 4. I don't remember that being punished, but just the threat of it. Then at the other schools, they were a little bit better than that when I was 4. Either that or I was getting accustomed to it. The same type of thing went on, but it was God was pounded in your head. Going into the at 4, when we went into church every Sunday, and it was a Catholic church, so we had to do a lot of the cross. And if you made a mistake, they would reach across and pop you on the head with this stick. At 4, I was making all kinds of mistakes. I just wasn't organized. I just didn't know what to do, and I wasn't doing it right. So I'd get hit on the head. I was often told that I was a heathen and I was a sinner because I was part Native American and part Irish. The heathen was the Indian part, and the sinner was the Irish part. And I remember that as a child, but I didn't understand it until later. Then I learned why they said that the Indians were heathens and why the Irish were, sinners. Growing up with that, developed low self-esteem. I was frightened of God. I was frightened of anything. And then after I got over my fear, anger started settling in. I didn't want to have anything to do with a God like that. Many of the songs said that when you died in the church that they would sing all the time were those that once you leave this earth, you go into heaven and you sing praises unto the Lord. Well, I wasn't going to sing any praises onto anyone. Lord, what kind of life did I live? No way. I had developed quite a attitude. And I was totally against, I guess, religion or how to worship God. But there was a part of me that I think I received at the age of 4 when
Alert from Google, password required.
When I was held by this incredible being. I felt a nearness to something, to someone that was incredible. At the age of 7, I crawled up on a quarry, a very steep hill, and I was 7 years old, and I remember building an altar and kneeling there and praying over the people who were down below. And I often wondered what made me think that I should do this. I mean, I didn't have that wonderful relationship that they were teaching in church that we needed to have with God. It just wasn't in me. I was somewhat rebellious. In fact, I was very, very rebellious. When you grow up and you're put down daily, you develop this attitude. When you feel the rejection and you become defensive, and I was all of those things. Anyway, by the age of 15, I had decided I wasn't going to go back to school. I was home for the summer months. I met the boy next door, and he was escaping his family. I was 15, he was 18, and we decided we were going to get married and have our own family. And I was determined I would raise them the way I wanted to raise them. We married, we had 4 children. One child passed when she was 3 months old. It was shortly after her death that he and I divorced and separated. We were separated and then divorced. I met another man. I was only 20. He was 32. We married. It was a happy marriage. It was wonderful. By the time I was 31 years old, we had 6 children because I had 3 from one marriage now still, and we had 3 more. We planned it that way. We wanted a large family. It was almost as though I felt like I needed to build my own circle of love, a tribe, if you will, and raise them up to in nothing but love. I was just in search for that love and acceptance that I had never felt before. At the age of 31, I had to go to the hospital because I was suffering from, having children very young. My first daughter was born when I was 16, and then they just came. I mean, it's just heard this. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people were struggling having children, and I just couldn't seem to quit having them. And doctor said, you're going to have a hysterectomy. Went into the hospital, and had the hysterectomy. During the hysterectomy, I hemorrhaged, and they were able to repair that. And later on, in my bed, um, I, I learned later that I had hemorrhaged again. Um, the doctors and nurses had thought I got a recovery. I was fine. There was no problem that they could see, and they left me alone. What I felt, I woke up. It was about 9:30. Looked up at the clock, and I felt this terrible sensation. I know what it's like to feel when your body is dying. And I had gone to school and worked in a hospital, so I'd been around death, and and I could feel that in me. I could feel the very last drops of blood just flowing out of me, and then I felt myself dying from my toes up, and then there was this feeling in my chest. Later, a cardiologist explained to me that that was when my heart fibrillated and then stopped beating. So I felt this energy, and then but the sound, nobody could identify the sound I heard. It was like a pop, and my spirit come out of my body. And I rose up to the ceiling, and I remember looking down, turning and looking down, and there again, there I'm laying on the bed. But my body didn't look like me. I didn't. It was kind of hard to recognize, and so I came down to take another look at the body, and sure enough, it was me. And but as I observed myself, I actually began to feel an enormous amount of peace. It was like, yes, I'm out of there. I'm relieved from that. But I thought about my children, and they were home with my husband, and I wanted to go home and take another look at them. I was able to do that, and it was interesting too because I looked around for instead of going out the door, which was to my left of my bed, and I was well aware of that. I looked to my right at the window, and I knew I could go through the window. That thought still stays with me. How did I know I could go through that window? But I did. I knew it, and so I went through the window and at a very rapid speed. I could look down below me and I could see the street lights. It was late. It was about quarter to 10, winter month, so it was dark. And the street lights were going by very fast. And I came to my house. I went right through the wall, the door, and I saw my husband sitting there. And I was amazed at this too. I mean, I saw him sitting there, and I'm supposed to be dead and in a heavenly place, right? Or heading that way. And I felt very annoyed, even angry at him that I had told him that, make sure the kids are to bed by 8:30. And there he was reading the paper, and they're running all over the place. And then I worried about their life. If I leave, what are they going to be like? And it was just almost magical, wonderful, actually. As each child passed by me and I looked at that child, I could see into their life, their growth, as they grew and went, instantly, just like that. I could see everything about their life. And I knew that each one, they would have their trials, but they are going to have their growth. And I knew that each thing that happened to them was going to serve them. It was a purpose for greater growth and what they would do down the line as they more greatly matured. And I thought, oh, okay. And this thought came to me like someone was speaking in my head and said, they're only lent to you. They belong to God.
I heard that before. Yes.
You don't have to have your ego in them. You gave them the body. All right, that's good. If they're attractive or this, that, and the other, they gathered that from generations of DNA. But the spirit has always existed, and it belongs to God. That spirit is an adult spirit that entered into the body. And I thought, wow, I mean, it was amazing. And then I seemed to lose, I seemed to understand even greater the whole idea of me being the mother of these children that I adored and worshiped even. I had a lot of pride, a lot of ego in them. And then I felt responsible for them instead. That am I raising them right? Did I raise them right? Did I do what God wanted me to do for them so that they could reach their goals when they become adults? That was it was just amazing, that information that comes to you. It's instantaneous. Then I knew I had to go back to my body, and I did. I went back to the hospital, back to where my body was. And there appeared by my bed 3 ancient men in these beautiful brown robes, and they had ties, belts around their waists as I observed them. And one had like a hood up over his head, not hiding his head, but just up, sort of monk style. And I thought about that. Maybe my experience in the Catholic Church, maybe that's where I was gaining that knowledge. And they kind of chuckled at me, and it was like, no, you have known us for eternities. And I said, really? They said, for eternities. We've always been with you for eternities. And then I kept observing them, and I realized that I did indeed know these ancient looking men. I knew them. I can't tell you who they are because I don't remember, but I knew them and I felt confident in them. I felt safe again and secure in them. And they said that they said, you have died prematurely, and but you must go on. And then there was this energy that seemed to fill my room until I wasn't aware of my room anymore. And I began traveling into this. I called it a tunnel in my book because I don't know how else to describe it, but it'd be like a tornado with all this music, lights, things that sparkled, things that didn't. There were people that I was aware also in this massive tunnel, but I wasn't concerned about them. They weren't concerned about me. And so I just kept going to wherever I was being taken. And I ended in this black void. It was pitch black. Now, I love camping. I've been out in the mountains where at night, no lights, nothing, pitch dark. And if you're in the middle of a wooded area, you can put your hand by your face and you can't see it. That's how black it's been in there. Well, this space was just similar to that. It was so black that you couldn't see anything. I was a little bit claustrophobia, had claustrophobia. And so this space and the blackness would have drove me crazy, but it didn't. And I marveled at that. I was so surprised that I wasn't startled. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't nothing except for being bathed in this beautiful black space. It was wonderful. It was cleansing. It was purifying me. It was, I mean, I could just go on with the adjectives, and yet there are actually no words to describe it except for utter joy, complete and utter love, liquid black love. I mean, it was just, I mean, I could just go on. It was just wonderful. I could have, if I hadn't have gone beyond that, and I've thought about this for years. I was only 31 when I died and experienced this. And I thought if I hadn't gone beyond that black space, I wouldn't have minded staying there for eternities. That's how wonderful it was. But as I was basking in this and enjoying it, just being there, a bright light pierced through that blackness. It was a pinpoint of light at first, and all of a sudden it would start broadening as as I went into the light. But it was like a searchlight looking around, and then it seemed to focus on me and draw me into it. And so I traveled into that light, and the speed is this. I have no way of describing the speed, none whatsoever. It was very fast. I saw that there was, I was approaching the end of that light, there was a figure, a man figure, standing there off in the distance. And I was going directly at him with this rapid speed, whatever force that was taking me. And as I got near, I knew who this man was. I have always known who this man was and is. And now, however I picked up my own speed, it was me. It wasn't someone pulling me there or the force or energy. I started running. I'm using words to describe movement, but it wasn't like I was running at all. But I went to him, and I just wanted him. And as I got there, and as I came, and his arms came out like this, and as I came out, this bright yellow light energy. It was all white and then yellow, golden. And he just swooped me into that and drew me to him. And I embraced him. And this is why I called my book Embraced by the Light. And he brought me to him. But I knew him, and I'd been there before. And my first words out of my mouth was, "Why did you send me to Earth? And I'm never going back there again. I'm done with it. I'm done with it." This is what I was saying at the age of 31. And I'm done with her. I'm not going back there. You can't make me go. And he chuckled and he said, You're there for a purpose. I says, "Well, I'm done. I'm not going back. I'm just not." And I said, "Why would you send me there to become half Indian and half Irish, a sinner?" And I said, and a heathen. I mean, that's what I am. He says, "No, you're not a sinner. You're not a heathen." He said, "You're precious."
Precious.
And, excuse me. Well, I never thought of myself ever as being precious. That's for sure. But he said, "You chose your path, and you did it." I said, "I wouldn't choose that." He says, "Yes, but you did." He says, "You see, everyone here is at different growth in the spirit. Some are greater than others. And there are some that are still learning." And he said, those that are the greater, they choose tough paths. He says, "That's what you chose because you have a purpose. Everyone on earth has a purpose to serve. Everyone on earth has a mission to fulfill." And I said, "Well, I hope I'm done." He said, I mean, it was amazing because he was absolutely humorous and beautiful. His spirit was wonderful. And the best part is that he said, "Everyone coming there will remember who he is." I said, "Everyone?" He says, "Oh, yes, everyone."
And who was he?
To get used to it. But he says, "Someone's going to remember."
Alert from Google required.
You hear that,
So I
guys?
get,
Google
and
is
Yeah, I hear it.
Sorry, Betty.
I'm
There's
sorry.
some-
I had to shift to Google in order to get.
Oh, okay, that's you. I was
We're like-
Google.
We're
I
like,
said,
Google's watching in on us.
I know. Well, now you.
All right, hope they learned something, huh?
So that was who you believe is Jesus that you saw?
And that was Jesus. And I said, well, where are your nail prints? And again, I still had, one thing I realized is that when you go back to heaven, back to our original home, you still take a little bit of what you were, your attitude. But
Mhm.
as longer you're there, you start dropping the attitude and you get back to your original self, the self you were, and the growth that you acquired here on earth. You take that with you. And that's a real blessing. But I had this attitude, this chip on my shoulder.
From
And so I said, well, where are your nail prints? And he says, Betty, you don't need to see my nail prints. You don't need to see my pain to know who I am. And I live with those words because that means that, well, I never did like to see him on the cross ever,
no.
on anything. Although I do have some crosses, I guess I don't have one on now, but I do have some crosses, but I never wear one with him hanging on it. I like to see it sparkle. It's more like it reminds me of what he looks like now. But he called a couple of people off to the side. There were 3 women off to the side, and he said, "There's so much for you to learn." He said, "I want these women to take you and show you everything that you desire to see and more." And so I went with them. And this is all the stuff I share in the book, such as the looms where I saw these this material being made. I've had a lot of time to think about that material because it was like light that had been beautifully woven. And and then I went into the garden. They took me into a garden. They told me to enjoy um, everything. And I noticed that the grass was so beautiful, and I was barefoot and I was walking. I could feel the grass under my feet. But because I like grass, not just like a carpet under my feet, I like grass flowing and up around the calves of my leg. The grass did grow, and it grew to that level of my calf. And then everything that I saw after that, if the love I felt for him, and I love woods, I love plants, I love trees, I like sort of an outdoor person. And I saw flowers that is, if I walked over and I touched them, they would grow and sparkle and beautiful. And if
Wow.
you ever watched the movie Avatar, I swear they, someone, whoever designed everything, um, they know exactly what I'm talking about because that was what I experienced in
So you had some
early.
kind of a gift that you could do that in heaven.
You
You
know,
had the
the magic
ability.
of it all is that we all have those gifts right here on earth. We just haven't learned to use them. And we say this is something that's circumstantial or accidental or whatever, when in reality we create that. Imagination, I was told, is key to reality. Imagine it and you can start. We are co-creators with God. We have not just our parents' DNA, but we have the DNA of God in us. And we just need to find that in us. You know, the secret in the Bible, it says the kingdom of God is within. Never made any sense to me. Kingdom of God within me, not very likely, you know. But after having that experience, now I know where the kingdom of God is. It's whatever I will allow in me and then begin to practice that, allowing it to flow and become in me the greater part of me. And because imagination is the key to reality. And I was taught that while I was there. That we stymie our growth because we disbelieve. It's what we believe that and I know most of you probably have heard about the book, The Laws of Attraction.
Mhm.
And that is so true. So true. And so anyway, I saw that, and where I had my feelings of I don't want to go to heaven. I'll go anywhere, but I don't want to go to heaven when I was a child, because I was not going to sing praises to God, a God that I didn't understand or know. And I couldn't imagine being happy in heaven singing all the time, because, well, it would be pretty boring, wouldn't it? But as I went in the garden, there was a river, and a little that went it fed into this beautiful lake, and falls that cascaded down where the water would run through. And I noticed each little droplet of water as it cascaded down over the rocks. It was singing a melody. I mean, these little tones, little every droplet. And my eyes could come up and focus on each droplet. And I could see that and feel the happiness of each, again, each little droplet as it came down. And each one had a little sound that created this beautiful melody. And that is how they glorify God, is by being its natural self and doing what it does best. And that's the same thing with each one of us. We're individuals. Each one of us, our voice is distinctly recognized over a telephone, because we are beings made of energy. Our voice is made of the energy. We have our own unique sound. And when our behavior and everything about us is so unique, that in our uniqueness, we glorify God, our creator. Makes him delighted to see that we are perfect the way we are. But as soon as we get here to earth, we start the transformation. We don't like what God has blessed us with. And then we start dabbling with this, that, and the other, when he is just fine with what he's created. And I went to the river. There was a rock there, and I wanted to sit down on the rock and just feel the water. And I do this all the time when I go camping. Get along the riverbed, and I sit down and I put my feet in the water. And so I wanted to do that. And there's something about every part of this unique experience, everything calls you to it. So it's not just me wanting it, it's them wanting me as well. It's like an invitation. I invite you to come and sit here. I sat on that rock, and it conformed to me and made me comfortable the way I would like to be made comfortable. It was beautiful, it really was. Put my feet into the water, and it just became the temperature that I would love to have it. It was just the exchange was absolutely fantastic. I looked into the water, and I could catch my reflection. I did, and I was mesmerized, because here I was. I don't think I was in heaven anymore. I don't know if I had to time it would probably, and it wasn't this earth time, wasn't the same, but I would say I was probably in heaven at this point. Maybe if I gave it earth time, it would have to be at least maybe a day or two. And yet it wasn't. We're talking earth time.
The time didn't have any. Time didn't have any.
Time
stood still.
Right. But the longer I was in heaven, I was transforming. I was becoming who I was before I came to earth and was born into my family. And this was the woman that I saw in the water. And I tell everyone, and maybe because you're non-judgmental, I didn't judge myself. I just thought, wow, the beauty of
You
my
were
soul.
you were the way you were
Magnificent.
supposed to be before Earth and the environment changed you. So it
Right.
sounds like.
It brought me back. It actually, Jesus said, come back to remembrance. So it's not like it's new. It's opening your, releasing what was in the past and just moving forward and remembering what was and always has been and why you're on earth to begin with. And so you learn that not everyone there, not all the souls and spirits there, not came to earth. They chose not to.
Yeah.
Some were too afraid. Earth was too challenging.
Speaking
And
of
so they
fear,
chose
so did all your fear, you weren't fearful at all, the whole experience? You're
Oh, not at all. No, not at all. I wasn't fearful at all. I was joyous, absolutely and utterly joyous. No fear, no thoughts about what I left on earth, my husband, whom I loved with all
you
my
didn't, did
heart,
you
my
think of your
children.
children while you were in heaven? Did you think, were you no worry, nothing? Because I know me as a mother would be
Not,
like,
not
you don't have
nothing,
any fear. Okay. That's
nothing.
good. No,
Because remember, I was shown their lives and that they would be fine, and that's all
yes.
I cared.
For
But
I
I
know a lot
didn't
of the
miss them.
people out, excuse me, Betty, this was one thing that I have to ask you because I know a lot of people who are listening, are probably thinking the same thing. So what did Jesus look like?
That is, he was like a being of light. And yet, if I had to give him it's very hard to describe because it's like everyone, you talk to can start looking like a chameleon. A part of their spirit as they're expressing becomes this or that, and another part just goes the other way. Well, Jesus was the same way as he spoke, or as he laughed, or as he joked. This immense, beautiful energy around him moved with him, and he would look one way, he would look this way, and in another moment, he'd look that way. But if I had to, the only time I found, since I've come back over these years, I have been shown thousands of drawings, paintings of Christ, people wanting me to select one that would resemble him. The one that I saw that would resemble the one, everyone being multifaceted in the one prism, Jesus looked like. Ever see the picture of the Turan,
Yes.
the image? Okay. That captures his features more than any drawing or picture I ever did see. And yet he is, and then you magnify that, make him more magnificent, without scars, without anything like that. He's very handsome. They said, did he have blue eyes or brown eyes? His eyes changed. I guess if you wanted him, and he even said, I asked him a question about when people come, does he always come and appear to them like he did to me? Do you always appear to people? And he says, no. He says, there are some who don't believe in me. And he will often, he says, but I wouldn't want to frighten them out of their belief system. So he appears like however they expect to see him, or whatever they expect to see. In other words, you could die and see your dog. Or
I'd like to see my
one
dog.
man was, yeah, you can. It's happened. People they want some whatever they had on earth that comforts them. A lot of people want to see that when they arrive in heaven. One man said that he never believed in God. He didn't believe in Jesus at all. But when he died, what he what comforted him most was his teddy bear when he was a child. And that he believed in. Well, when he died, went into heaven. And I'm sorry, I have to laugh because having been in the presence of Jesus and knowing his humor, this is so him. So the man dies, goes into heaven, and he's greeted by this giant brown teddy bear. And he runs over and it looks like his little one, but he runs over and he grabs it, and he's running his fingers through, to the fur and loving it. And the bear is loving him and holding on to him, and he's feeling comfortable and he's loving it. All of a sudden, the bear starts chuckling. Well, since we all know Jesus's voice, we all know his humor, we all know his chuckle, this guy pushed back from his bear and he goes, Jesus. That brought him
I've been like, hey, Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. But when he told me that, he hated it. He says, I don't like to tell people about that because I've always been an atheist all my life. And I've heard dozens of other experiences because everybody wants to say, how come I met this or how come I met that? Well, I'm a Muslim or I'm a this or I'm a that or the other. Jesus can appear, he said, any way that they need him to be. He can appear that way. He says it doesn't bother him. He says everyone will eventually come to know me because they already know me. I am. So
how long did you stay in that state of heaven before you were brought back?
I wish that I knew the length of time while I was in heaven. Earth time, I was gone approximately 2 hours.
You were gone that long? I mean, was your body actually, you didn't actually die in the hospital, or you went into a state where you were almost dead?
My body, as far as I know, was dead. When I returned to the body, I don't know because I wasn't interested in my dead body at all. I was glad to be gone. I did not want to come back. I came back to serve a purpose, and that is to write Embraced by the Light, and I did that.
What did your family say when this happened? When this was all this?
Did they do what?
What did your family say? Your husband was home when this happened? Did they call him and tell them that you were gone, or did they bring you back? Did they do CPR?
No, they thought they were doing something to me. I don't remember what they were doing because when I got back into the body, I was still in between. I wasn't even in heaven. I was in my body and I was aware that I was there. They were doing something to me. I don't know. I wasn't interested. But because what was happening to me instead is they wanted me to see future events that would occur here on Earth. I was still being informed, educated, brought back into remembrance. Some things I had always known. Other things they were reminding me or showing me again. And I was.
Were you more into? Were you in a coma? Was it like a coma? Like
no,
2
not
hours
once did I ever lose consciousness. No,
2
my body
hours
was dead.
But 2 hours is a long time to be dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And come back. I never heard.
I've met people who have been dead longer than 2 hours. So 2 hours sounds fantastic, but I have met people who were toe tagged in the locker and brought out, and still they live. One man I met, a very good friend of mine, George Rodadiah. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He was a Russian who I met who had a near death. He was killed actually during that KGB by the KGB. He was on his. don't usually like to share this because some people really get upset. But he came back into his body when he was going through his autopsy.
Oh
And
my.
yeah, and
That's crazy.
to the amazement of the physicians that were around him. They had to hurry up and take his organs that they had already taken out and put him back in and whatnot. He was a mess when they finally got him all put together. But he lived several years. Excuse me, I had my phone off. I don't know what happened here. But he went on to share his experience. In fact, he became a minister and had his own church for some years afterwards. That was part of the plan that he was to come back and do. And he did. So there's some amazing things. It's in the Lazarus from the Bible. I mean, he was dead for what, days or whatever. Jesus rose him up and created him back just the way he wanted him to. So how long you're dead or whatever doesn't matter. If you aren't meant to be dead, you can be brought back and continue your life without any damage at all. But
Well,
I'll tell you,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we are each, we were born to this earth terminal. Not one of us was meant to stay here. Each one of us have a time that we need to return. And when that time comes, nothing here on this earth is going to keep us here. But if that time hasn't come, nothing on earth is going to take us out into death. It is all up to God, our Creator. He will take us when He's ready, or He will accept us when we're ready. That's why you hear about a lot of, since this COVID, many people have had near-death experiences and have shared them. It's just amazing. But they were told, just like I was, it's not their time, and sent back.
Well, I've experienced Christ without being dead, and when your experience was seeing the light, the brilliant light, that's what I saw. I was in a deep meditation state when I was 16 years old. I was just after I watched Jesus of Nazareth, the movie, and I was in a deep meditate. I didn't know what meditation was at 16, but I was in deep prayer, and my room got really, like you said, it lit up. My room lit up, and at that age, I knew right at that moment that's who that was. Inside the light, it was translucent. That's why I wanted to see, what your experience, how your experience in a near death experience, and mine is a life experience of seeing Christ. And the light was so brilliant. It was like he was translucent inside the light. But I recreated that, what I saw at the age, I'm not going to say over 50 something. I recreated it with oil paints. But it didn't look like the shroud like you. I saw the most beautiful man I've ever saw in my life. And the eyes were so, like you said, they were, they changed the eye. I couldn't recreate the eye color because it was between like a clear crystal blue, ocean blue. It was like the eyes were just something that shined through the light that I could not recreate. But that's why I wanted, when you said the light, all you saw was light. That's all I saw in my room. My room grew in light. It was just the most brilliant light I ever saw in my life. And that's why I wanted to see, what you said he looked like, because I recreated it, but it didn't look like the shroud at all. I didn't see when I couldn't recreate it. That's what's more of a word. It was just, I couldn't make how could I make something so white and still see Jesus? So I toned it down. I left it the way it was. And I tried to put the light in there, but I don't know. I just love how you said it was all white. Like the light was so bright. So that's a comforting feeling to me that maybe it was that image in my room was legit, because sometimes you start thinking, your mind starts playing games on you.
Right.
But I was alive. I wasn't dead.
There
I
you
wasn't
go.
alive. So
For the time being.
for the time being.
Well,
So I've always wondered, the way that the general population sees Jesus, through the, he's got like long hair, some beard and stuff like that. If, seeing him firsthand, like, is that anywhere close, just for, all the listeners that like, what does he really look like? What we are depicted to see him as, like on statues and stuff like that. Is it anywhere near close to that?
I think the reason that I saw him that resembling the shroud, because that would have been, and I wasn't consciously thinking this ever, but I believe that would have been the real look of his, of his physical body at the time he died. I mean, he was a Jew, and he was tall, but he resembled the other people of that time, and so he would have looked like a Jew, and that would have been dark skin, dark hair, and dark eyes. As I saw myself in spirit, remember I was telling you about looking at myself in the pond, I looked different. It appeared that my hair was a bright red, flowing, active. It was everything there has movement because it's energy, and so Jesus's eyes could be blue, or they could be brown, or they could be crystal, or they could be any color that he will choose to let you see him.
And this is how I saw him.
Right.
I couldn't.
It's Jesus Nicasio.
Oh, that's because I had that was so someone wouldn't chase. I couldn't get I had the darkness in it on the edges, but the light was coming out through his face, and that's why
Welcome
the
to
center.
The darkness.
That's why the center was so white, and I couldn't. I couldn't do.
That's a beautiful painting. You.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done. Well done.
You know what? But here
I could draw a stick figure. That's about it.
Yeah, but here's where I come into play. Here's where.
Here we go. That's great.
Oh yeah. Now I do respect your story, and I'm very grateful you're on sharing it with people. Okay, and but what bothers me a little bit was when you saw the guy that was. You asked Jesus to see the nail imprints in the hands, and he refused to show you. Okay. To me, now I've been in my business for over 30 years, and yes, I had a near death, and yes, I didn't see the light. I saw darkness when but my life changed. But besides that, see, to me, thinking, okay, if this guy didn't want to show then it could have been something else in there. It could have been a different entity. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking your story. I'm just saying where I want to come from is if he was truly Jesus, he could have showed you his palms. He showed him to St. Thomas. It's just that I want to throw that out there and see what your theory is or an answer.
I'm really challenged even to decipher most of what was said. I'm sorry.
I'm not knocking your story. I don't know. To me, when somebody refuses to show something, then, and that's only me.
I mean, is it possible that, Sean, is it possible that, since he's risen, and he's back in heaven and everything, that he doesn't have the nail marks anymore? You know what I mean? Like he wants you to see him in the better light, not
right.
as, you
True.
see him,
I could see that
during that time. Is it?
But I do believe St. Thomas doubted that Jesus died. He didn't believe it was Jesus. And Jesus showed him the nails in the hands. So, and that's where I'm coming from today.
He's a little
I
skeptic.
just long story.
Yeah, I can't. I couldn't really make out. It's very broken. Everything you said was.
Oh, you're
almost
having an
broken.
internet issue. Okay. Yeah, you're a
Broken,
little
really.
fuzzy right now. But well,
But as far as Jesus, I mean, when you see him, believe me, all is forgiven, because he certainly doesn't expect us to have perfect memory until we go back. We're just not going to. I mean, everybody has their own understanding, their own, however they were raised, their own perception, their own idea. We all try to take everything, and that's not just Christ. That's anything in life. You get a handful of people, and they're looking at the same thing. Very few of them are going to see the exact thing, and so it doesn't matter to him what you think he looks like or how you think he's going to be. What matters to him is that you learn you learn to you look for miracles and you find them, and you're going to find miracles in God, and that'll draw you closer to God. That'll draw you closer to Christ. Having faith and understanding the higher laws that we came here to learn, and yet we're really crippling ourselves these days, because we are not living the higher laws. We're actually creating some pretty low laws that are crippling us. And
absolutely.
yeah, but when we get there, we'll see all of that. But we're here to learn, and they didn't send us here and blind us exactly for no purpose at all. We wanted to come here and be challenged, each one of us in our own way. And so if say for instance, I'll pick someone that we don't know, I don't know, but let's say a person was brilliant it's usually coming here to acquire an attribute of God. So let's say patience. Someone needed to acquire patience, and so throughout their life they're going to be hammered with situations, and where they have to develop their patience. But first, they're not going to show patience. They're going to show how impatient they are, and go through all of this until they acquire that one thing. Or a person who wanted to, the greatest gift is love, and yet we come down here and look at love. I mean, everybody has taken love and made what love isn't. Such as, I mean, it's someone else. I'm a counselor, and can't tell you how many men I've said, "You're not in love. You are in heat," because everything you talk about on this woman is a physical aspect. You are not talking about the beauty that she has inside herself that caused you to love her.
Well, Betty, if anybody
So-
has any questions for Betty, go ahead and post them in the chat. Should be more than happy to be. Well, she's still here with us, but in the moment, I just want to shout out to our sponsor tonight for our second hour is Carnation. Just remember, if you want a great cup of coffee, they have a great selection of creamers, and it's great for baking too. So, thank you, Carnation.
Cheers! Thank you, Carnation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
So if there's any questions for Betty before we let her go this evening, please drop us a line in the chat. I just think it's fascinating. I think it's a great a story to help give people hope, especially if they're struggling and they have questions. And I think it's a great book to pick up. You can still find it on Amazon. How about bookstores? Betty, is it still available in bookstores?
It's still available, and the best place I think to get it is Amazon. Amazon books. It's called Embraced by the Light, The Awakening Heart, and The Ripple Effect. And The Ripple Effect is what I call my first teaching book. It's taken the principles that I learned during my experience and responding to thousands of letters that I received and trying to help the people there to understand God's point of view on what how he might feel, or what he because he's not a punishing God. We punish ourselves.
Exactly.
Right.
Ourselves.
Actually, I have a question. When you were referring to the solid black and there was just nothing, you said it was like very peaceful. It was like loving and stuff like that. Do you think that that's like that for everybody? Because a lot of people, probably listeners and everything, would associate the darkness with a more negative, view.
Yeah, I would have associated it too if I hadn't experienced it. I also think, I've heard thousands of near-death experiences, as you could imagine, over the years, because my experience was back in 1973. This is 1921 or 2021. And that has been, oh my goodness, since the book has come out, that's over 25 years ago when Embrace first came out. So I've heard thousands of near-death experiences. You're right. Not everyone experiences the black space. Some do, but not all. And I think, as I look at it, the over thing, I probably had to go through this cleansing and purification and whatever. And it gave me a time for healing of my spirit, which it was in great need of healing before I could meet Jesus, is what I'm thinking. Because some people they just go from one state of being there. They're just there. And then back, told that they cannot be there. But I had to go through this thing. And I also had to go through a rebaptism, not in a particular church, but it's very symbolic of, again, going from death to life in the water representing the flesh, and coming up out of that. Very symbolic. A lot of that is very symbolic, and I did that in that river, where I sat with my feet. But there's so much more. I mean, I have to get the book and read it. I was taken into the many worlds that God created. They wanted me to see that there's life outside of Earth, and life on these other planets, and that the individuals there are very much in tune with what we're doing here. And I mean, it's just it just opens up a whole new world. It's vast out there. There are no limits, no limitations, and we all can be a part of that if we just open ourselves up to it.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to go ahead and let you go tonight, Betty. But thank you so much for
Yes, thank
sharing.
you, Betty.
Yeah, thank you,
That was
Betty.
a very
Thank
compelling
you.
story.
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
And we appreciate it. And there's the link on, there's one of the versions of Embraced by the Light on Amazon. And it was like an enlightening story. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. You have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Bye-bye. Well, guys,
All
what do you
right.
think?
That was a very, very interesting story.
Extremely.
I've got a mind full of my own questions on it.
Yes. Yes.
I
mean, it's her story, and you can't judge her on that story. It's just, for me, it's just like Jason said, there are some questions I need to ask about it, and that's where I'm at right now.
I think the biggest part for me that I really question is the being dead part.
For 2 hours.
She said, she was dead for 2 hours because after 3 minutes you start to suffer brain damage, and then organ failure and everything else. And then, the gentleman, that came back during an autopsy, like, I don't know, because you'd have bled out by then. And
Well,
But-
there are
But
some
miracles do happen.
Well, there's
So who
some.
knows?
There is a truth to what she said. There's something called the Lazarus syndrome. When she mentioned Lazarus, there's documentation. There's a whole. I'll read off a couple of. So I'm going to help her. I do believe that it could happen. So I'm just going to go through these.
Okay.
A 27-year-old man in the UK collapsed after overdosing on heroin and cocaine. Paramedics gave him How do you say that?
Narcan.
Narcan.
Sort of like
Narcan.
Narcaz injection. There's two different kinds. This one doesn't say that. And he recovered enough to walk to the ambulance. He went into cardiac arrest in transit. After 25 minutes, they resuscitated him. The patient was verbally declared dead about a minute after the rest. I can't talk today. Resuscitation ended.
Resuscitation.
It's all the antihistamines in my nose is clogged up.
It's all that coffee
Can't
you're
breathe.
drinking. Mess up the vocals.
Yeah, well, carnation.
Oh, it's delicious though.
We're all
Thanks for
stuck in
joining
today.
us, Pap.
Ragweed. Okay, so here we go again. The nurse noticed a rhythm of the heart on the heart monitor after he was resuscitated was resumed. The patient recovered fully. Then we have a 66-year-old man suffering from a suspected abdominal aneurysm, suffered cardiac arrest, and received chest compressions and defibrillation shock for 17 minutes during treatment for his condition. Vital signs did not return. The patient was declared dead and resuscitated.
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 Effort ended. The 10-minute later, the surgeon felt a pulse. The aneurysm was successfully treated, and the patient fully recovered with no lasting physical neurological problems. Okay, now these ones are 2 hours, but we're getting there. According to a 2002 article in the Journal of Forensic Science International, a 65-year-old man, he was a deaf Japanese man, was found unconscious in a foster home he lived. CPR attempted on the scene by home staff, emergency medical personnel, and also in the emergency department of the hospital, including appropriate medication, defibrillation. He was declared dead after attempted resuscitation. However, policemen found the person moving in the mortuary. Okay, he was in the mortuary, so this is pretty long. After 20 minutes, the patient survived for 4 more days. Okay, there's a couple more. Judith Johnson, a 61-year-old, went into cardiac arrest at the BB Medical Center in Louisville, Delaware, United States, in May 2007. That's 2007. She was given multiple medicines and synchronized shocks, but never again regained a pulse. Okay, she was declared dead at 8:34 p.m., but was later discovered to be alive and breathing. She sued the medical hospital where it happened for damages due to physical and neurological problems stemming from the event. That's pretty crazy. A 45-year-old woman in Colombia was pronounced dead as there was no vital signs. Okay, no vital signs showing that she was alive. Later at the funeral worker, now this is crazy. She actually is taken to the funeral home. The funeral worker noticed that the woman was moving and alerted her co-workers that the woman should go back to the hospital. Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Then we have a 65-year-old in Malaysia came back to life after 2.5 hours. Okay, guys. After doctors at the Seberang Jaya Hospital in Penang, I don't know where that is, pronounced him dead. He died 3 weeks later, but he actually was dead for 2.5 hours. Then we have Anthony Yaheli, a 37-year-old in Bellbrook, Ohio, USA, was breathing abnormally at 4 a.m. on August 5th, 2013, and he could not be woken after they found he had no pulse. First responders administered CPR and were able to retrieve a stable enough heartbeat to transfer him to the emergency room. Later that afternoon, he suffered a cardiac arrest For 45 minutes, he was dead at the Keltern Medical Center and was pronounced dead after all efforts to resuscitate him had failed. When his son arrived at the hospital to visit his supposed to be deceased father, he noticed his heart beating on the monitor that was still attached to his father.
Resuscitation.
Efforts were resumed, and he was successfully revived. And then we have a 78-year-old guy. The coroner said he was dead. He arrived already to bomb him at 9 p.m. on February 26, 2014. Once at the funeral home, he was found to be moving, possibly resuscitated by a defibrillator implanted in his chest. Oh, Jesus Christ. I told you it's torture Tuesday. This last hour is torture for me. I just want you to know.
That's right. It's Torture Tuesday.
Torture Tuesday. And then we have one more that was resuscitated.
Resuscitated. Say it with me.
That's the word of the day.
The word of the day is resuscitated for 2 hours. So it does happen. So we have to give her the benefit of the doubt. I mean, there's a lot of them. It's called the Lazarus syndrome. And where these people go, she's just one of the many that go to heaven, and then there's others like Sean that go to hell.
No,
I don't.
Yeah. So I mean, no. Here's my deal with the whole situation, and if I made her mad, I didn't mean to. It's just that being in the business for so long, you ask somebody to see something, and they refuse to show you. That's something fishy. That's something fishy in my book.
Okay, well, Jesus can say if he doesn't want to show you his wounds, then
what? He showed it to St. Thomas. He did.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe he didn't want to show it to Betty. I don't know.
So I got some information on the Lazarus effect. Compliments of Nina, because I wasn't sure, and she's in the medical field.
Thank you.
Well, first I gotta say, 17 minutes is a lot different than a couple hours for the most part, 17, 20 minutes, whatever. But also the Lazarus effect patients are constantly being worked on to bring them back. And usually they end up dying or have like severe, residual effects. Also, I didn't know this, but they were likely not checked for a second heartbeat location. I didn't know that, because a lot of times the heart is still beating, but very, very lightly and can't be detected on a single site. So that there would medically explain, what's going on, why somebody could be pronounced dead. And then so much longer later, like, oh my God, the heart's beating, because it's starting to build back up. And when the heart's beating, guess what's happening? There's still oxygen going through blood, but then, it's so weak that the after effects are not good.
Yeah.
No, that's
a good medical explanation for it, if you ask me.
Thank you.
I mean, miracles happen. I believe miracles happen, but in the grand scheme of things, when you look at it, from the medical standpoint, that makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen too that explains there's like a chemical reaction that these people have when they're so close to death that your brain starts to shoot off neurons and you see all kind of things. I'm not going to knock it. I mean, I think she gives people hope that we need right now in this time. We need hope.
I don't think there's any hope for this planet. Let's be honest.
Well,
but I don't know. You can have your skeptics. I believe in life after death, and I believe that there's a heaven and a hell, and I believe that if you're a Christian and if you believe in Christ, you're going to go. If you don't believe in him, you're not going to. He's not going to let you in. But there's other religions that don't believe in Christ, and I do believe that they go to heaven. So
it's just whatever you feel comfortable or whatever makes you happy. If a rock makes you happy and you feel very spiritual to it, yeah. The Wiccans, they go with trees, rocks, plants, animals, and to them that's their god or goddesses.
Yeah,
So
it's
they
like
feel
give to the
comfortable.
earth and you get back kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And
What you put out is what you get back.
exactly.
Yeah. So I think it was a great guest. I mean, I'm glad we had her on the show. Like,
Oh yeah, it's a very compelling story. Like,
Yeah, it was. I
it's
enjoyed her story. I
makes you
did.
think about a lot of things. You
I'm
know,
going to try to get someone to come on who has gone to hell, and they can, Sean and him can compare notes.
Yeah.
Is it hot?
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it hot? You know what?
Yeah.
No, it was freaking cold. It was cold, not hot.
You know, I'm
Yes.
still curious about, you know, she was talking about that darkness though, you know, because so many people associate that with negative and just
Yeah, that's
bad.
why
And
I-
she's saying it was so loving and
That's-
stuff. Like
That was
that's
another
boggling my
thing.
mind a little bit because then
It is.
after that, she saw the light start as a pin light and then got bigger and bigger. So that to me would be like you're literally stuck in a nowhere, and then the
Right.
light came to get you. You know, that's the way I perceive that as. So I'm still.
I don't know. When I had that near death where I died, you know what? I saw darkness. I didn't see no light. And
Those your eyelids.
I know what I saw and I felt, but I tell you what, after that changed my life. And it changed it for the better. So
Amen.
that's all I got to say about it. That's
you
it
had it
just
for a
is-
reason.
I did. I believe that. God works in mysterious ways. That's the way I look at it. And mine
Oh, I
was
believe it.
doing what
I
I had to
believe
go
it.
through,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, my experience in my room, at one point I wanted to be a nun. I didn't know if that's the route I should have went. Sometimes I
I was going to
wonder.
be a priest.
Oh boy, what did I just walked into a bar joke. I want to be nun and I want to be priest. Walk into a bar.
I did. I went to
Jesus.
school to be a priest.
That's cool. Yeah, you probably should have been, and you would be. I don't know, Mr. I don't know, but it was a good
I can't
show.
see Father Kelly.
But okay, let's get back to So
Tell
we
us
have a
about your light. Tell
my
us about
light.
your
Oh
light.
God, it
You
was.
flick the switch and all of a sudden.
No, it was. Honest to God, I'll never forget it. I told people at school what happened to me. It was back in, like I said, I was 16, 17 years old. It was right around the same time. This is what kind of got me a little confused because it was right around the time that people were seeing when Magigoria started. I don't know if you remember that, Sean.
What year was this?
It was back in the
No.
80s. It would have to be 1980.
Oh, geez, I wasn't even around yet.
Yeah, you weren't around yet. It was Easter week. It was Easter week. I was watching Jesus of Nazareth in my kitchen on a little TV because, back in the 80s, you didn't have all these big
Rabbit
TVs.
ears, black and white.
And I
Turn
sat,
knob.
it was a mini series, and I watched it, and I was so enthralled. I had cried. I was bawling watching it when he was on the cross. I mean, I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I got my communion, confirmation, and all that, but I really never really, no one portrayed it like that actor did. And I was just so captivated, and I went into my bedroom and thank you Jesus, thank you Jesus. I mean, I'm crying, I'm like bawling, and I'm like meditating. And there was I never knew that's what I was doing, but there was a glass of water. Remember those old clock radios with the light?
Yeah.
Well, I had a glass of water and it was shining through the light, and I kept on looking at that light, and thanking him, praying, and my whole, like the corner of your room where the walls meet, that corner part, this light just radiated, and it got brighter and brighter and brighter, and it filled up the whole room. And inside the light, I saw that image but it was white. I can't paint it like that. There's no way you can make that. So I just tried, how can I show this? How can I show the white, the bright light? So I made sure his clothes was real white. And then I have, like, in the middle of it, if you see it in person, you can see how I have like beams, like, radiant. And I made his face like in the middle real white as I could get it. And made the darkness around the face, and I made sure the background was black because my room was dark, but there was a light coming through. I I can't explain the word. This is what got me confused, because all of a sudden I got fearful. Like,
I could see that. Yeah.
I got scared. And
Yeah.
I got scared, and I flicked on the light and ran in my mother's room. And I'll never forget it. I can still see her, and it was dark. My dad was on the other side of the bed. Mommy, Mom, wake up. She goes, what? I saw Jesus.
Go back to bed.
I know. She goes, I believe you. She says,
that's all you needed to hear.
I believe you. And remember, I was 16, 17. I wasn't taking drugs at the time, but I did go in my bathroom and I like lit up. I smoked.
So like the night before.
No, I didn't do drugs. I didn't do them then.
It's okay, Jenny. It was the 80s. Or okay.
But I was in the bathroom and I smoked like 10 cigarettes in a row before I had enough nerve to go back in my bedroom.
After you smoked those 10 cigarettes,
were they green?
After a while, how did you feel? I mean, physically, mentally?
This is what happened. I thought I go, oh my God, I saw Jesus. I think he's calling me. I have to do something. So I start reading the Bible, and I went to church. It was Easter week. So they had confession. So I went to my local church, St. Joseph's, and I went and I talked to a priest. I forget him. His name is Father Zarnigi. He's probably in some jail right now. No.
Wow.
So I told him my experience, and he believed me. He goes, you saw something that brought you to Christ. And Easter Sunday, I could have died. He told everybody on Easter Mass my story without telling my name. And I was like, I told him the story not to tell everybody. And he said that he was in homily, and he did his homily around my story. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. I think, why did he do that? And he did it because he wanted to show other people the story to bring them to Christ. And he thought it was a wonderful story, but I took it the wrong way. And I thought he shouldn't have told anybody my story. But he did.
You know what? If you were in confession, you ain't allowed to do that crap. I don't care.
He didn't say my name or anything, but I knew, my mother knew, and I don't know. It was a great
part of it.
But I did. I was struggling.
Jenny, you had a homily made about you.
I know.
Put that on my resume.
I know.
Put that on your resume, okay? I had a homily made about me back in the early 80s on a nicotine overdose, no drugs induced.
There was no drug induced. No, it was and it stayed with me. I mean, I tell people, I was telling kids at school about it. I thought this was, I can't believe I saw this. I mean, well, who can say that they had this experience? So I mean, it stayed with me all these years. And I finally told this is when I started to paint. I said, I have to recreate that. And I didn't know if I should make the whole picture white. And I thought, no, because you wouldn't see it. So I took it to my priest, actually.
Is it the same one?
I made this one. I just did this during coronavirus lockdown. I did this on, it was for Good Friday. I think I did it right before Good Friday. So not this one, but the 2020, when we were locked down. I think it was
2020.
So that's when I did it. And I just, the whole time I did it, I sang the Divine Mercy the whole time. I sang it. And the funny thing is, people say, why are you in the paranormal field? Because I believe in the spiritual side of it. And that's why I'm not into all that weird stuff. I don't do witchy stuff. I don't try to conjure, spirits, but I'm more on the spiritual side of it. Like, I don't know.
Which is cool.
But that's how I painted it. And when I have it in my bedroom. It's huge. You should see how big of this thing is.
So
huge.
WWJD.
Yeah.
What? What?
That's a question for Jenny. WWJD.
What would Jesus do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what would he do?
What would Jesus do?
When he saw my painting, he's going to love it. I asked him. No, seriously.
Did he
I
say,
didn't know.
"Oh, Jesus Christ"?
Well, no, I went to my priest and I asked him. Yeah, I swear all the time. And I have to, say, I'm sorry, God, I can't help it. I'm not perfect. I'm a human being. But I did, when I painted the painting, I was blown away. I had tears coming down my eyes because it was just, I thought it was
gorgeous.
It was a beautiful
It is a
picture.
good job,
If you
yeah.
see it
It's
in
gorgeous.
person, it's really
Yeah.
nice. But
Like I said, I can draw a stick figure. Literally, that's about it.
But I took it to my priest and I asked him, I said, what am I supposed to do with this? I said, I didn't know what he was trying to tell me. And he goes, you need to have discernment. And I'm like, what the heck does that mean? I don't know what you're telling me. But it was just a story I thought I should tell. I mean, I like
I'm
to
glad
tell.
you shared it.
Yeah, thanks
I'm
for
glad
sharing.
you shared
That's
it.
a good story,
Yeah,
yeah.
really.
Because it gives me like, oh, okay. What did you want? And I think he was just letting me know that he accepted my my prayers of thanksgiving, because I was thanking him. And he was saying, you're welcome. That's what I'm hoping he's saying. You're welcome.
That's cool. That's cool.
Save a turkey leg for me.
No, but it gets, I've experienced a lot of loss in my life and it gets me through it.
Right.
It's hard, but we all do, right? We all
Yeah, it's
experience
part
loss.
of life. Yeah.
And it was nice to know that, her story about Christ and seeing him, and it made me feel hopeful. What if I would die, my kids would be okay. Like if you lose your kids early in life, that would be horrifying. But it gives you but she felt okay that they were going to be okay, which I like that.
Right.
Right.
Which is a good deal. Yeah. I don't know where my son's going. He went from a Catholic to an atheist now because he's a scientist. It's really, really crazy. He was an altar boy even up to the age of 16, and then he got into the scientific field, and he lost everything that he grew up with in the church. And to his mom, that really hurt her feelings very much. You know what I mean? And
I can see that.
Yes, but I have a good son though, because even though he don't believe anymore, when he comes home for Christmas, he goes to Christmas Mass with with his mom.
Even though he doesn't believe it, that's nice.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. So
or maybe he'll find his way back.
I hope so, because I pray for him.
Something I've noticed is like, I grew up Catholic and everything, and went to CCD and everything, but it seems like a lot of people that I know that went to like Catholic schools and just got pounded, just religious thing after religious after religious. It seems like as they reached adulthood, a lot of them are like, I'm tired.
Yes,
and a lot of them, stop, practicing, stop believing because they're like, I'm just tired of it beating into my head. It seems like there's a lot of people like that out there.
Well, you know what? I was in Catholic school for 12 years. And when I graduated, I didn't even want to step into a church because I got tired.
You'd catch on fire.
Oh no! I stick my finger into the holy water and it burns my fingertip.
No,
you got hit by lightning.
Well,
I
know
what
you're
I'm
saying, Sean.
That's where your hair went.
It was just too much religion for 12 years. I had enough, and I never went to church.
That's the thing about. I don't think you have to go to church. I mean, I just found my way back to church after the scandals because I was so furious at what happened. But I follow Father Mike Smith on Ascension Presents, who does the Bible 365 Bible in the year, basically. And I follow him, and he did a whole podcast on how to go back to church go back to the Catholic Church after what happened with the scandal. And he said, don't lead, don't lead. So when you go to church, you try to you're not going for,
hello, Augie.
You're not going to church because of the priest, because who cares about the priest? I don't even listen to half the homilies. I only go. But
it was about you that one time, so you should pay special attention to the.
But I go for the
That's like a rite of passage for you.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know if you guys ever heard of Marshall Taylor. He's an ex.
I watch him.
he wrote the book Infiltration, and I'm trying to get him on the show because he believes that the church has been infiltrated by the Satan. And that's exactly what's going on now. And that's what I think too. I think that the Pope, all of them, it's all infiltrated. And this all happened back in the 40s. It started in the 40s. And then with all the, I mean, come on, how many priests abused kids? I mean, there's like thousands, you know what I mean? Like,
well, they got that scandal just a couple years ago.
And they're not
498 or something like that.
You can't tell me you can't tell me that's not the devil. I mean, come on.
Oh, it's the devil's work.
It's the devil's work. Yeah. And he's in there and he's laughing. He's laughing his ass off.
Where's Constantine when you need him?
Yeah, it's scary. That was a good movie.
It was.
With
Keanu Reeves.
Yes, I love that movie. No, seriously. And where we're going, I think everything what's going on, like with Afghanistan now and COVID, and I think we're going down. I think I've been doing a lot of reading, and the more and more I read, the more and more I think we're getting into the apocalypse and Revelations. It's all happening. The book of Revelation is all happening right before our eyes. So get ready, boys. Who's going to be the last man standing? I don't know. It's kind of scary.
It just gets. I just want to thank all the service people, men and women, for 20 years protecting us from terrorists. Thank you. I appreciate you, and for protecting the United States.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
We have to. We don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of days, and that's why it's good to know that when Betty was on the show that it's just this isn't it. This is not it. It better not be it because.
So somebody messaged me and they said, I had a priest chase me around the church and he caught me up by the organ and just left.
Oh, that's it. Oh, that's it. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's bad. That's bad.
Well, getting back to paranormal stuff. I mean, guys, have you been on any investigations lately for the last 15 minutes we have here?
Well, the last couple weeks
coincidentally,
yes.
I got about 2 weeks ago. I actually taught a class at a psychic fair, and it was pretty interesting.
What did you learn?
Psyched?
What did you teach?
Papa
what did I teach? Well, actually, it was something because what it was the class was Paranormal 101, and we ended up talking about exorcisms, people getting demonic possessions, and I was like, wow, this is intense, but it was pretty interesting.
Were there anybody there that was possessed?
No, but I got a good psychic reading.
Yeah. How'd that go?
I did. Awesome.
What'd they tell you? What'd they tell you?
Anything good?
Oh, yeah. I'm not getting married.
Well, we knew that. That's not psychic. That's just...
All right. But no, I'm working my path where I need to be, where I'm at right now. And it is with the radio. That's why you see a lot of videos that I put out. They might be 2 or 3 minutes, but it just feels like that's what I have to do. And I'm not in it. I'm not egotistical when I say that. It just seems like I have to get something out and say it. And,
there you go.
So that's
good for
where
you,
I'm at
Pap.
right now. How about, hey, Jason, what about that dude you talked to at that Bigfoot fair? Talk about him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I gotta find the business card. This guy at the Bigfoot fair that I stopped at last weekend, he actually had photo evidence for the first time. I caught the tail end of his presentation, but he was talking about all his experiences and everything, and he actually had proof to show, which I was like, okay, now this is pretty cool because you hear story after story after story, and it's like, well, do you have any proof? Well, no, I didn't catch anything or missed it on camera or whatever. Well, this guy actually had like slides and actual over the years.
What is his name? Do you recall?
That I'll have to ask. Russ was there. I'm gonna have to ask him. I can't remember his name. Like I said, I caught the tail end of it, but
he wasn't Eric, was he?
Nah, he was an older guy.
Eric Altman.
That's what I said.
He was an older guy.
Well, Eric's pretty. How old is Eric, Sean?
He's young. He's young.
He is.
Eric's young, yeah.
Well, that's not a number. How old?
Was he in his
I don't
40s,
know.
50s? I would say
No,
he's in his
I'd say
50s now. I'd say he's in
he's
his
a-
50s. Is that
he's a
young
good
or
dude.
old for you, Jason?
Oh,
Yeah,
it'll always
Jason,
be
what
older
is
than
it?
me. So no matter whatever happens, you two will always be older than me.
Yeah, definitely.
No, buddy.
What are you gonna do? Don't worry,
But,
you're gonna get old too. Hopefully.
Well, then you probably won't be here.
Another thing that's coming up. Me and Jason, we're going to be speaking at this. It's called a Bigfoot barbecue.
Oh,
And
you're
it's
gonna have
somebody-
barbecue and Bigfoot.
Yeah,
this?
man. September 18th.
Where's that at?
It's going to be up around
Towards
Kittanning.
It's at a campground.
Yeah.
So you're gonna
Yeah.
actually camp out?
Yeah, for the night.
But
Oh,
the
that's
guy's
good.
offering us a cabin. So,
Oh, good. There you go. That sounds like fun.
But they have an estimated roughly at least 1,000 people every year show
Oh
up to this
God!
event.
Now, did anybody ever see both Bigfoots?
Well, I wear size 15 shoes, so I can classify as Bigfoot. So.
Oh, jeez.
Me and Jason are going to be looking for UFOs and Bigfoot afterwards.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like to look for UFOs more than Bigfoot.
Well, come on up.
Bigfoot
Come on up.
scares me.
Saturday,
Come on
September
up.
18th.
Come on up.
You can go hunt for Sasquatch and UFOs. Because
Yes.
actually at the Bigfoot Festival last weekend, they were talking about several of the speakers talked about how right when they saw Bigfoot, there was also a UFO sighting at the
Yes,
same time.
yes.
Oh well, they say that Bigfoot is an
Yeah.
extraterrestrial.
Yeah, they were saying like it's more of an interdimensional thing.
Oh, I got a story to tell you. I got
Okay.
another. Last week, I was down at Val's house down there in West Virginia, Brookston Mills, I think it's called. And me and her husband, Matt, were having coffee on the outside of their porch. And honest to gosh, we heard a real loud knock, like a piece of wood hitting a tree. It was so great. Yeah.
If a tree falls
It
on
was
does
about-
it make a noise?
Yeah, it does. But no, when we heard that knock, and then I, watching all those Bigfoot shows, it sounded exactly like the knock that guys do to try to get a response from Bigfoot. No one was out in the woods. There was no chainsaws going, nothing like that. And we heard a knock. It was cool.
Was it a knock on a tree or just a
Yeah.
knock?
Yeah, knock on the tree. It was real loud.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I know. I think Bigfoot is. I'm not so sure he's from outer space anymore. I think maybe it's just a genetic thing that happened, and they are just like another species that have
Dan Hagman.
Hagman.
Yeah, Russ just messaged me. The gentleman that has the evidence, we believe his name is Dan Hagman.
We'll have to get him on the show.
Yeah.
that would
I
be
talked to
cool.
him. He was definitely interested. I hope I got the right business card. So
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I get him on the show because we booked up pretty much for September. I don't even know who we have
Nice.
next week. I think we have the
The prepper.
the haunted of Route 30. I think I'm not sure.
we might have a
Where's-
good
when-
investigation coming up soon too.
Yeah.
Working on.
Yep.
Where's this
we
one
are.
at?
It's
Summit.
local. I won't disclose the area it's in for reasons of the people that live right next door. But I met these people through my job actually, and we just got to talking about paranormal and everything. And there's an old church building there, and I think it's from the late 1800s or very
that'd be
early
good.
1900s
Yeah.
with a cemetery behind it. So I was
Oh.
like, oh, is there any chance we can investigate? And they proceeded to tell me about how it's been investigated before. And one of the investigators, I guess they contacted, I think, around 13 spirits. And they said that all of them were very, very angry.
Oh, they're angry ghosts.
And they said there's like no power lines or anything back there. As I saw where it's at, there's nothing around it. There's just nothing. And she was talking about how their meters and equipment was going nuts. Once they started communicating with whoever's there, and I was like, well, of course, I got all excited about it. Like, well, this is gonna be
Right.
sweet. So we're in the process of hopefully setting that up. hopefully for like
That's
October or
good.
something like that when it cools down a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
September was the 14th. We're having that one author on about the Bridgewater Triangle, and that's going to be interesting. An
Yeah,
interesting
that'll be
show.
interesting.
Road trip.
Yeah, definitely next year. Let's go.
Go for
I
it.
want to
Let's
go.
go. Let's go right now.
I want to go.
Pack your bags. Let's go.
You pay my bills.
I'll
Pay
see
my
you there.
bills.
I'll see you there. I gotta go
There
to
you
work
go.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
I do want to go to that.
that's gonna be a good show. We have a
Yes,
couple
it is.
different goofy ones coming up. We have
Do we have
Another-
the prepper?
a what?
The prepper for the end of times? You said there was a guy that does prepping.
Oh,
Oh.
I was trying to get him on the show. He didn't answer me yet for Doomsday.
Okay.
I'm trying.
Yeah, Doomsday one. Okay.
That's a good one. I
Mhm.
think we better start getting a generator and we have one. I have one, but we haven't used it. It probably won't start.
Go clean
They're
the
just
carburetor.
talking because they're going to get the grid's going to they think the next cyber attack's going to be the grid. Well, what are you going to
Sweet.
do if you don't have any power for weeks at a time?
Right. The
You
truth.
know,
We had it I lost power for 2 days in a row, and it drove me nuts.
you won't have if you have so I don't have a regular phone that it says goes by Comcast, so you're not going to have the phone service. I actually did get a cell phone charger, solar charger, but I think you have to keep charging it like inside. I don't even know what I did with the cord. I have
But
to
if the
find it.
grid goes down, will the phone lines all still work?
No, they won't. Not the telephone poles should still work, I would imagine. I'm not sure. I know
don't
that
know.
cell phones won't work. We won't have any Wi-Fi.
Oh my God, the nation's going to
No,
collapse. 'cause the
Lord.
Yeah,
internet
that's what I
disappeared.
said. What are you going to do?
That'd be
No,
nice.
Seriously.
internet.
No, even how
That'd
to
be
how
nice.
to freeze like your food. If you have a generator, you can use it to
Mhm.
keep your food frozen. I don't know how long a generator. He'll answer all these questions like how long do you have? How
Right.
much time do you have?
I hope he answers you back because I want to write shit down. You know what I mean?
Seriously, it's like,
Yeah, I do.
are you prepared not to have any power? Are you prepared not to have anything? Like I have a
Live
security
free or die
system.
hard.
Like we have a security system. Do you have anything to protect yourself? Do you have a weapon? Do you have,
Yeah.
all these
I mean,
things? So
Mhm.
I have an AR in my back pocket. It just kind of doesn't fit there though. ARs, they're the ones that get an AR. Yeah, that's cool. They're
Yeah.
easy to shoot.
Armor light rifle.
Yeah, they're easy to
That's
shoot.
where that stemmed from.
Yeah. So
Getting closer to witching hour.
Oh no.
are we done? Okay.
No, about 3
A
minutes.
couple minutes.
A couple minutes. I can't remember what time we're off.
2
We're off at 11.
minutes to quit in time.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of different shows. I mean, I like to have I like a more engaging guest to let us talk.
Yes.
Ask questions.
Yes. Now, to all our listeners out there and people who are watching the
boy.
show,
Oh boy.
write us something. Tell us what you want us to,
Yeah.
put on here. Give us some suggestions, and then we'll put it on for you.
And we'd be more than happy to advertise for you too in a voiceover ad.
Absolutely.
And again, I want to thank our sponsors, Carnation.
Yes,
They make
thank
the
you.
best cream.
Yes, thank you.
Best things cut Thanksgiving around. Was it 2 more months? 3 more months? I
Couple
love
months. Oh my God.
Carnation. The milk, the evaporated milk. Great creamers out there. It's a great
Don't
addition.
they make hot chocolate?
But thank you,
or something?
Carnation, for sponsoring our show tonight, the second hour.
Yes.
Yeah, I do believe there's Carnation hot chocolate.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yes.
That's only around Christmas.
My
Sorry.
Christmas is right around the corner.
But is there going to be a shortage of all these goodies this year? Because look at like gas stations, everything's short on creamers and food.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
That's what people think that the people are prepping. They said
Yeah,
Walmart's
that's
are really
possible.
there's not a lot of meats and stuff and water supply that they're already prepping for it. So people are doing it. And I don't know if you listen to TikTok. I mean, if there's like one after the other on how to prep
Right.
for the Who knows? The grid going down. It's a scary thought, but who knows
Yeah,
now?
but you can't worry about what you can't control.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But it's always good to be
Exactly.
prepared, though, too.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I agree to an extent.
I
But
think everybody
don't
should
think you
go
need to
get
go
a
overboard.
generator. I think y'all should get a generator.
well, as soon as the first big snowstorm hits, everyone will have one. Don't worry.
Exactly.
All right, Chrissy.
Yeah, exactly. Got to get that generator out and make sure it works. But don't do it in the house. You don't put the
Nope.
generator in the house.
Or in the garage.
Yes, you'll kill yourself.
Yeah. There was somebody
Stupid people do
house
that.
caught on fire because of that.
I'll sell y'all some generators. I got a bunch of them. How many you want?
As many as you can give us.
I got like 5 of them biatches right now, maybe 6. It's weird for us. Like for Katrina, I had to buy 4 for my company, 2 for my house because we kept running for 3 weeks, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week because I wanted air conditioning. I didn't give. Even though the city was underwater and there's alligators going around, you got to guard your house from crazy people trying to rob you. I still wanted air conditioning.
Definitely.
My partner's like, how are you going to do this? I'm going to go buy 3 window units and put it in the house. I said, if you don't want air conditioning, that's fine. Sleep upstairs. I said, but downstairs is going to be air conditioned. Because that's where the kitchen and family room was. And the kids are going to be sleeping there anyway. So I was like, yeah, nice and cool. So I had to keep my chihuahuas cool, man.
Yeah, they're so adorable.
Yeah, they are.
Cool. Yeah, well, that's the 2 new ones. Baby girl's only 2 years old, and the little one, Lola, she's 10 weeks, 11 weeks. She's a terror, man. I'm just telling you, she's a terror. When I put sleeping demons, I mean it. That dog is, oh, God, I forgot. I'm glad I don't have grandkids right now. Jesus.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I'll get some of them, too. So what y'all do? Oh, we still on air, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
we're
on
we're
air.
live.
Well, if y'all listen, people, I got generators for sale. You know what, too?
And little
Speaking of that,
chihuahuas. Got little chihuahuas for sale.
And I keep my chihuahuas. You know why I keep my chihuahuas, especially Charlie, who we had for 18 years. That dog could smell food. Look, I never starved to death with him. They would always. He could smell food anyway, and plus he'd eat anything. I mean, the dog would be like, you'd be sitting there, what are you sniffing at, Charlie? You think he'd be like an animal? So, oh no, he's tracking down somebody's lunch. I mean, he would have made he could have probably made a great drug dog, man. He had a super snooper on him. And that's how the baby girl is. That's why she's as fat as she is. She's like, oh, what's that? Let me go
She's
see.
pleasantly plump.
Yes.
Oh man, she's
Pleasantly.
awesome.
Oh, good.
Fluffy.
So how was y'all's guess? I didn't get to hear because I was going crazy with something else.
She was a good guess.
It was a good time.
If y'all want to see true torture, tune into the Outer Realm tomorrow night because I'm going to be the host of their show.
Oh,
they're going to be
no.
the guest.
That'll be interesting.
Oh my.
No, come in.
That'll be
be fun.
good.
Hey, I was fair. I warned them. I said, they said, what do you mean? I said, yeah, let me host y'all. So I got some questions I want to ask.
Oh.
They're like, what do you mean questions? It's just a couple, fewer 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, maybe 10.
10,
I
12.
love torturing hosts. There's nothing more fun than torturing a host, man. It's just like, oh, God. It's a great thing. Don't worry, y'all all get y'all's chime.
Okay, let's end this thing.
All right.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks again for tuning in to Chasing Prophecy. You guys have a great night.
Thank you,
We'll see you
everybody.
next Tuesday.
See you next.
Dude,